Sure.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Victoria.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Lisa. I'm Victoria.
I'm Oliver.
And this semester we did some work evaluating the social media and of the Czech EU, and it was a little tricky at certain points just because we didn't have total access to the account. So whereas the other group was working with and on the social media live with Sonia, we were more doing theoretical work. Yeah.
So we'll start with the social media analysis and suggestions definitely just for this. A lot of what we did in this part of the project was not only looking at the social media, but also talking to other young Czech people who follow the social media account and who follow developments with the Czech Republic and the European Union. We wanted to first highlight some things that we were trying to work on throughout the semester. So some of the initial reactions we had were noticing there were definitely some negative comment sentiments on the Instagram. Confusion about what the EU really does for the Czech people. Interestingly enough, being from young people, I think that's not something that we see often. The idea that young people may not be interested in being part of the EU. But that was definitely kind of a wake-up call as to, okay, this is how we're going to need to approach going forward. We saw some post-out discrepancies. I don't know if you guys are related with the Ahoy Europa account on TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow.
So we really, we thought that the content on Ahoy Europa did really well and was really good at catching the attention of young people and being a good mix of, small skits and then also live interviews with people of all ages, of all backgrounds. So we really liked that, but then we thought it was interesting that content wasn't also being brought over to Reels for a whole different set of users. The people that use TikTok, at least in our experience, are very different from the people that use Instagram Reels. So it could be an opportunity to combine that. And then also just the overall level of interaction. When we spoke with a lot of younger college-age students, they mentioned that there's a general lack of feeling of humanity from the commission. So overall, it feels like yelling into a void when people have frustration, or like there isn't someone that they can attach a face to a problem that they're interested in or a solution that they're interested in. And so when looking at the Instagram account and seeing any level of non-responsiveness to a negative comment or anything like that, we thought that could contribute to feeling the Black community. And so just to put some examples, we have some pictures of negative comments translated into English just so that the people in our class could see. There are obviously people that are very passionate about these issues, and these are just some of the comments that we saw.
So in addition to what Oliver said, we kind of had a strategy to transfer some of this content from TikTok, which I'm actually curious because it seemed as though you had a bit of a shy response to the Ahoy Europa.
No, on the corporate level, we're not supposed to have a TikTok account.
Okay.
So it's managed by our external agency. So we, as a representation of the EU Commission, we're not supposed to have the account. So yeah, the content is similar or reshared from Instagram, but we're not. We don't have any password. We do not have any right to have it. So our external agency is having lead on this.
Understood. Thank
Yeah.
you. So we were thinking that if I'm not sure if you could do some sort of collaboration with them on Instagram to transfer some of that content to Reels, because I think there's a lot of audience that you're missing on Instagram, and Reels is the best way to grow. I mean, we saw that in Sonia's example. So we are thinking that if you can't do TikTok, we said a Reel or TikTok. I just use TikTok as a little visualizer. But we had planned to have a sort of weekly schedule where you can highlight some event that's going to be happening at the end of the week. And then also, some of the content that we saw on the Ahoy Europa is catered more toward the person who might be just an average person who knows nothing about the EU. So something we talked about is, one thing the EU provides is freedom to travel within the EU. That makes it very easy. You don't have to go through customs and all that. So highlighting that is something that EU provides, whereas if you weren't a part of the EU, you'd have to be waiting in lines forever. And that's something that no one really wants to do. So kind of just setting the target audience as, which we're going to go into more later, thinking about that as more of a, how does someone who knows really nothing about the EU approach the concept of the EU and recognize that. So we were also suggesting that maybe weekly you could recognize some sort of win. And you are doing that currently, but with more of the infographic kind of information in your face, whereas it could be a little more humanized, we think. And then Wednesday, you could do another, maybe something with the Ahoy Europa, on the street interview type of video, and then another informational post. We also noticed that the cartoons did really well. We saw that, I forget the name of it in chat. Who was the? I can't remember either. But there were some pretty silly cartoons. Yes.
Yeah.
And those posts did really well when we did our social media audit. So maybe if that could be something you could continue. Because I also think that is something the average person can connect with as well. And then something about the end of week event, which we will get into our events later.
And then if I can add to that, the cartoons, it was funny, like getting feedback from college age students. They really liked the cartoons actually. They felt they played into like the Czech humor idea. And so that was something that they really appreciated and I think would do really well if there was more of it.
And once again, we really like this content. I think it really speaks to just the average person and relating to seeing other people who are trying to understand what the EU provides. And so I think that's the biggest thing is awareness. In terms of IDA, we think a lot of people are just not fully aware of what the EU is doing for them. And it makes sense that that might seem a little out of reach because it's something that you're fully involved in every day, but I think the average person doesn't have the time to research too much about the EU, which makes sense. Same thing with politics in the US and anywhere. So it's just interesting, but we like the content here.
We can play this video so
I don't
everyone can
think
see.
it's not.
Oh, is it not? Okay, never mind.
Imagine a video.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah, it's out loud.
So these are a couple of suggestions that I had just on the social media side. The way that the content is structured. In sense of the disconnection, I think importantly, making people feel heard. There were definitely like negative comments that were responded to, but sometimes the responses were so long they had to be 2 responses. And I think that in a moment of someone being frustrated, they don't want to read a huge article on why they shouldn't be frustrated. They need to be feel heard and feel understood and presented with an opportunity to ask further questions or express why they're frustrated. And in terms of the comments which were not responded to, I think just in general, being able to respond to the negative and the positive comments, even if someone is not going to comment, when they see that, they realize that there's a human behind the post that is looking and taking into account what people are thinking, and I think it just generates a little bit more of a level of connection with the organization as a whole. As a second suggestion, we noticed on the Instagram there's a lot of infographic content that uses a lot of block text. I know my presentation is not a good example of mine. We're going to share this with you guys, so that I don't want to put as much info into it. But limiting text infographics to first slide being a couple words, just to catch that main idea of what's going on, I think would really improve it. But also mixing it in with real posts of real people. You know, right now I think there's probably 1 or 2 human photo posts for every 10 infographic posts, if I were to go off the ballpark. But you know, doing something a little closer to like 5 to 2, or wait, 5 to 2 would make a lot more sense, I think, because again, it would connect people to the people that represent them. I think that was kind of just the resounding goal that we had, is people need to feel connected to human beings in this, especially when it's something they don't understand. And we feel that this would, honestly, by itself, improves the general sentiment, improve excitement about being part of the EU, and then having citizens who actually appreciate the work you're doing, because I know that there's a lot of work being done at the Commission that goes unappreciated, just because people don't fully understand the scope of what it means to be an EU member.
So moving on to targets and good analysis. The purpose of this analysis is to identify and understand the attitudes, behaviors, and needs of different demographic and psychographic groups of citizens of Czech Republic. By tailoring communication strategies to this insight, European Commission can create more effective and impactful messaging to engage with its audience. And to begin with, Czech Republic citizens can be divided into 3 categories based on their attitude toward the European Union. They are supporters, opponents, and the uncertain. Supporters make up 40% of the population. They value the EU for economic cooperation, stability, and progress. They are generally optimistic about EU's impact on the Czech Republic's future. Opponents also make up about 40% of the population, but they view the EU as a source of unnecessary interference in national sovereignty. Distrust EU policies and often blame it for perceived economic and political challenges. The uncertain group represents about 20% of the population. Their opinions are influenced by current events and media narratives. They are open to persuasion, particularly if their concerns around economic security and personal stability are being addressed.
Yes, and to make these segments more relatable, we developed 2 personas that represent the audience Evropska Komise would focus on. This is Sarka. She's 33 years old, dental assistant from Ostrava. She's married with 2 children and belongs to Generation Y. Her primary concerns include balance work-life responsibilities, dealing with rising living costs, and protecting her family future from environmental changes. She primarily uses Facebook and Instagram to stay connected with friends and follows relatable, practical content. Sarka's needs revolve around understanding how EU policies directly improve her family's quality of life, like cleaner air in Ostrava or better infrastructure. And second persona is Dominik Romanek. He's 20-year-old university student from Prague and a part of Generation Z. He's deeply concerned about global issues, particularly climate change and sustainability, and he wants opportunities to make differences. Dominik is highly active on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, consuming and sharing content on advocacy and environmental topics. He needs accessible platforms to contribute to EU initiatives and to see the tangible impact of his efforts in areas that matter to him. Beyond demographics, psychographics help us understand what motivates these groups. Across all segments, security is a recurring theme, particularly given the recent geopolitical position in Europe. Younger generations, like Dominik's, are highly engaged with environmental topics. While the awareness of EU Green Deal initiatives remains low, the concerns for the climate's impact on nature and daily life is high. Older generations, including many of Sarka's peers, prioritize economic stability and autonomy. They want to see how EU policy brings clear, measurable benefits to their region.
This insight highlights several opportunities to strengthen the connection with Czech citizens. Firstly, use platforms like TikTok and Instagram to communicate with younger generations. Content should simplify complex topics tangible, actionable outcomes. For individuals like Starka, highly tangible, localized benefits of EU initiatives such as environmental improvements and regional funding projects. But despite these opportunities, there are also significant challenges we need to address. Misinformation campaigns have created a gap in understanding the EU's role and contribution. A lack of trust in the EU stems from perceptions of detachment from local issues. Radical oppositions driven by nationalist and populist movements undermines efforts to build trust and engagement with certain signals.
To overcome these challenges, we propose the following strategies. Tailor communication to specific regions. For instance, in Ostrava, highlight EU-funded projects that directly benefit the community. Host local meet and greet events where EU representatives address public concerns and dispel myths about EU policies. It could also be implemented in schools where teachers told students how EU works. Develop influence-led campaigns on TikTok and Instagram that resonate with Gen Z and millennials by showcase relatable stories. And launch transparent, data-driven communication efforts to clarify misconceptions about EU impacts on issues like energy, the community, and sovereignty. And in conclusion, understanding the unique concerns and motivation of each segment is critical to crafting effective communication strategies. By implementing targeted approaches, Europska Commission can foster stronger connection with Czech citizens, addressing their concerns and building trust in the EU initiatives.
Okay, so as everyone's been discussing, our main goal is just to build connection between the Commission and the community. They were discussing social media, and I'm going to discuss an event that we kind of thought about. And so first we identified issues, and we noticed that there's just a lack of humanity on the Commission's end, just through robotic messaging, lack of responsiveness, and an unclear definition of what the Commission does. And collectively, this just works to, it impedes on the Commission's ability to kind of garner support for their issues and proposals. And it also makes the audience feel alienated from the Commission. They feel ignored. They feel like their voices aren't valued. It can increase negative sentiments, and they become less engaged. And the Commission's failure to engage with both positive and critical feedback is undermining efforts to improve its public image. Silence in the face of criticism is often perceived as the refusal to acknowledge or address flaws, leading to kind of a mistrust of the Commission. And this just, like, people lose their faith and trust in the Commission, and it makes it difficult for them to rally their support later on. And so our idea to kind of build this connection is a coffee chat. So it would be a series of informal, community-driven events held at like local coffee shops or universities where people are kind of comfortable in talking. And we just want to open like a two-way communication between the Commission and people. So we want it to be informal and very comfortable, just meet and greet. And our target audience is local residents, students, and community leaders. We can also work with other institutions like Charles University to communicate and disseminate the message so that more students show up. And so officials will show up, and this would happen regularly so that an ongoing dialogue is happening. We're thinking either monthly or quarterly, and the goal is just to humanize the Commission. And so the structure would be just like an opening remarks, discussions, interactive discussions, Q&As, and then closing remarks. So a lot of these activities just give the community an opportunity to be involved through, like doing surveys, bulletin boards, and just kind of getting their opinion out there and having the opportunity to kind of ask questions, learn more, and like know that their voice is being heard because there's a human on the other side. And then this would obviously translate onto social media by just kind of capturing content at the events, and making short form videos or brief infographics. And we just think that this would help enhance public trust, increase community involvement, and lead just to a better understanding of what the commission actually does.
If I may.
Oh, please, yes.
Thank you. A lot of good and very good recommendations and suggestions. I will start from the coffee chat. I think it's a great idea because Monica, our boss, she does regional visits, and at this time she ended the first round around the Czech regions, and I think this is a good idea for the regions 2.0. So I will tell her to do this because I think it may be a really good fit to do that. And just to a few words about us. Camila, she joined our team 11 days ago, so and she's in charge of the community management. So the things about comments and interactions of with our followers, it's her task. But yeah, she joined us 11 days ago. But just to clarify something, you had those comments from I think there was one called Modré srdce. He's our top hater. He really comments on everything we post, and it took a lot of time from our side to comment on his hates and comments. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't because it's not our priority, because he's really our top hater. He's commenting on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, really every post. Yeah. So this is something what we or Camila have to have in mind when we are dealing with comments. But I totally agree that we have to increase the comments and to show our followers that we are humans and that we are there for them, because it's really important. We are also trying to think about us showing our faces, but EU politics are really sensitive topics, and we know from our colleagues from Slovakia or Hungary that they are being really attacked, or there are some threats about their lives. It's not so easy to show our faces because it may somehow threaten our lives or security or something like that. Yeah, that's from my side. Maybe you want to comment on something?
How Mr. said, this is my second week. I also make it better, but you're right, we must reply on more comments, and I will do my best to elaborate. But how Mr. said, we know some of our followers, and we know that some of them we can change. So, but yes, we must reply on more comments, and maybe the TikTok. Can you say about it?
Yeah, as I said, at the corporate level, and you may know about the TikTok and Romanian elections, thinking, or in Romania there were presidential elections, and secret services in Romania, they have found that via TikTok, Russia and other state actors, foreign state actors, intervened in those presidential elections. So the TikTok is now being, there is intervention from Commission, from our Brussels colleagues. So, and for this we are not supposed to use TikTok as our accounts, at our mobile phones, our mobile devices, and so on. So it's kind of not easy task for us to be on TikTok. So we are trying to do it via our Europol account. But also what we are hearing from Czech influencers, they are kind of in not favor of being on TikTok. They know there is a toxic, there are toxic topics and also toxic people. So they are trying to reconnect from TikTok to Instagram. And maybe one more question. Have you noticed about our collaborations with influencers? Because this is something we are trying to do. When you analyze our profile, because you mentioned Oprasky, the cartoons, it's kind of influencing thing because it's really popular profile, and we did a unique collaboration to celebrate 20 years of Czechia joining the EU. It was one thing, one-time thing, but we are trying to talk to influencers, to collaborate with them, to make them our EU ambassadors, and maybe that's what I missed, and I thought that you would somehow highlight it, but you noticed.
I think us not, we don't fully know like who the Czech influencers are, so I think
Yeah,
it's possible that we saw them,
that
but
will
we
be
didn't
great,
realize that they were an influencer. But we definitely did discuss and thought that, you know, partnerships with influencers that have a wide range of followers and, you know, a very big spread of age groups and whatnot would be really good, because I think that's, again, one of those ways that you can show at the really basic level the tangible impact in a daily life of being a part of it.
I also think that with the influencers, people want to be able, they're seeing someone who they relate to or with, kind of communicate to them. So if for some reason, I guess it might be hard for some person to relate with Monica because she's fully involved and then she knows all of the background and she has a background in law and all of that. So, well, I guess they wouldn't know that, but we know that. But my point is that if someone is following the influencer they follow because they relate to them on some level. And one thing that I just want to mention, because we forgot to add it, we were thinking that alongside with the coffee chat, there's this account in America, it's called Jubilee, spelled Jubilee. And it's more of it's a discussion but also a debate platform, but it's real people from everyday, just like any average person going on this account to debate with maybe someone who is a debater or just discuss with other people who are on a different side of the political belief. So we thought that could be really useful in terms of content on Reels or even YouTube, but
It's very popular in the US.
Okay.
it is, and especially among the younger generation, because I think what people, like we said, what people want to see someone that they are on the screen, not someone who is telling them information. They want to be represented and have someone who's speaking for them, like, yeah, that actually, you know, this is exactly how I feel. And then their point of view is being represented in conversation. So it just makes a more inclusive environment.
Thank you for this. Yeah. And maybe one more thing, you mentioned misinformation, and we see that those are not misinformation, those are disinformation. Those are made on purpose by trolls, by another account. So just to have it in mind, misinformation is somehow you miss the right information, but this is made really on purpose by those top haters and top accounts commenting us.
And
And then, just before we close, we already sent to Monica a much more detailed proposal for the event that has budget breakdowns and, a full, schedule on how you could go about doing that. And then we're gonna share the presentation with you guys.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Great.
Are we going to
Please,
take a
oh,
picture?
of course, of course.